Nintendo and Tencent have joined forces in an attempt to bring the Switch to China, and the pair are making significant headway. As reported by Reuters, Chinese tech giant Tencent recently received approval from regulator in the southern province of Guangdong to distribute the Switch and a test version of the Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe in the country. The Chinese video game market is currently the largest and most lucrative in the world, making this a big victory for both companies. According to people familiar with the matter, the Guangdong approval will eventually lead to the Switch being sold nationwide, although no time frame for the rollout was given. Launching the Nintendo Switch in China is a massive opportunity for both Nintendo and Tencent, said news analyst Duty Onye, explaining the significance of the news to Reuters. What sets Nintendo apart from competitors like Sony and Microsoft is that its intellectual property roster, including Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon, is already extremely popular in the market. What's more, the mobile aspect of the Switch is a great fit for China's mobile-first culture. Nintendo's new partner Tencent was one of the companies affected by China's recent licensing freeze, which saw the new State Administration of Press and Publication hold approvals on any attempt to hold out games that did not abide by the government's values. The freeze prevented companies big and small from launching their games in China, and created a massive approvals backlog that regulators have only recently begun to wade through. Fortunately for Tencent, test versions of games like the Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe can be distributed without a license, meaning it can effectively skip the queue for now. Robot Entertainment is all at once closing down its online games, Ox, Must Die, Unchained, Hero Academy, and Hero Academy 2, saying that it's no longer sustainable to continue to keep the games online and playable. Both the Hero Academy games released for Android, iOS, and PC, while Ox Must Die, Unchained released for PC and PlayStation 4. Though unfortunate, it's not uncommon for developers to close down online servers for games once the cost of keeping them up and running starts to outweigh the money those games bring in. Robot Entertainment offers more details on the specifics of the closure in a post over on its blog, and notes that the 3 games have already been running at a financial loss for several months. In the case of the original Hero Academy, Apple's iOS updates are also partially to blame, though still playable to those that had previously downloaded it. Hero Academy was removed from the App Store in early 2018 following a series of iOS updates from Apple that phased out older and 32-bit iOS apps. That game, according to the developer, has been technically obsolete for a long time now. We could not maintain the pace of operating system updates from Apple. All 3 of the games will close down fully on April 8th at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. At some point in the lead-up to that closure, Robot Entertainment will be removing the games from sale, and the ability to create new accounts for each, though a set end date for those features has not been set. The studio has been scaling down its development efforts for nearly a year now, as it looks to focus its efforts on the not few unannounced titles it has in development. In addition to these 3 server closures, Robot Entertainment laid off 30 team members early last year as part of what it called strategic shift to focus on its unreleased project. Speaking at the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco this afternoon, research developer at Blizzard Adasha Miller shared how the STUDIOIMPLEMENTED social features into Overwatch to promote positive behavior among players. The 2 social features mentioned above include endorsements, designed to reward positive behavior, good sportsmanship, supportive teammate, etc., conveyed through a level system. Looking for growth, gave players the options to link up with players who had a similar play style. Miller explains that one of the first steps Blizzard took in fostering positive behavior was a dinging thank you message to players after they sent a report. On the flip side, they studio began sending out warning messages against all players, accumulating verified penalties. We wanted to give them a chance to change their behavior after we penalized them, Miller said. Blizzard decided to focus on prevention first. How do we go about preventing these behaviors? We did research in the form of focus groups and surveys. Miller mentioned two key areas that usually encourage disruptive behavior among Overwatch players. The first being a lack of social consequence. By performing well within society's expectations, you are rewarded. In online communities, there are not effective consequences, she said. Thus, bad behavior. She added that there also was not a clear way to reward players either, and it was important to highlight those who did play nice. Implementing endorsements was a way to focus on the lack of social consequences. In-game positive reinforcement rewarded players for good behavior, and can be given to enemy team as well. The more endorsements the player acquires, the higher their level becomes. This feature uses positive reinforcement to be a good player, Miller said. It encouraged consistent, positive play and consequence for deviating from that. If you are not consistently getting endorsements, if you slip up, you are not going to get endorsements and your level is going to slip, she added. If a player does slip up and their level falls, Miller said it was a form of loss aversion. This often causes players to want to get that level back and keep going, which offers a path to redemption. Miller also said that peer recognition was important and endorsements had a positive impact on players after a match. The decision to add loot boxes as a reward after a player's endorsement level increased was something Blizzard hesitated with. It was a really big discussion for us. We did not want to encourage the wrong behavior either. We wanted most of the push to be good to come intrinsically. So loot boxes as reward operated under a more randomized schedule. Even if you slipped, you could come back. If players slipped during any randomized checks, they would not receive rewards. Miller then provided some data as to whether or not the social systems worked. Endorsements in particular. There was a 40% reduction in matches that contained disruptive behaviors since implementation. When asked if they saw it as a product of the system, players agreed. The system makes people nicer. Miller explained that players appreciated. They were able to show thanks and support for their team. In addition, 50 to 70% of players have given endorsements. Miller concluded by saying that the team was happy with the results so far, and planned on improving upon the systems and maybe implementing more in the future. One thing we never really addressed back when we were making the Bitcoin engine was localization of the tools. We supported localization of Gamasutra in the engine, of course, but the engine tools themselves were only available in English, as both the number of tools and the number of frameworks used are the tools, WinForms,
WPF, HTML.
Group. The localization task became more daunting. When you are writing an engine, you are never short of stuff to do, and there always seemed to be something more pressing than addressing localization. With machinery, we did not want to make the same sharp distinction between tools and games, as we envision lots of use cases where the creative experience is taken all the way to the end user. So it was important to get this right from the start. Localization, in the context of game development, can mean many different things. Localization of strings in theory is probably what first comes to mind. But language can also be found in dialogue audio files, under text baked into texts.